What's up guys, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain and I'm standing next to a brand new KRX 1000. Now this KRX already has the Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on it. Now that's the premium kit from Tusk, and what that comes with is your folding glass windshield, a mirror kit, aluminum roof, a rear glass window, and a cargo barricade. Those are 5 of the most popular accessories for this machine, and in this video we're going to show you how to get them installed. Now for the mirrors, the mounting kit is going to cover both sides. We have both mirrors, and to get those mirrors installed, we're going to use a 19, 17, and 13 millimeter sockets. So that's all the hardware that comes in the mirror kit. Keep in mind, since we're installing the folding glass windshield, you're going to have to use some hardware out of that kit as well. So we've got the thinner spacers that we're going to be using instead of the thick spacers that come with the mirrors. And we're also going to be installing the mounting brackets at the same time. We're going to start the install with the mirror mounting brackets. So the first thing we need to do is take our 17 millimeter socket and remove both of the A-pillar bolts. So with both of the A-pillar bolts removed, we're going to use the bolts that come in the mirror kit. We're going to install the washer, and we'll go through both brackets. And then this is the spacer that comes with the windshield. So you're combining hardware from both kits. So we've got some adjustability with these brackets, and we're going to leave both of these bolts loose for now until we have everything mounted up. But from here, we're going to go ahead and install the mirror. Now for the mirrors, you're going to install them so you can read the Tusk logo on whichever side of the machine the mirror is installed. So we've got the driver's side mirror. We're going to remove this bolt from the end, and we're not going to reuse the bolt, but we will reuse that star washer. And then for the spacer, the tapered side is going to be facing away from the machine. You just match that up with the mirror. We'll install this long bolt through the mount. Then the spacer. And these spacers are powder coated, so sometimes that bolt can be kind of hard to stick through there. If it is, you can get a drill bit or something to clean that out. Then we've got the star washer on the end, and we'll screw that into the mirror. And again with this, we're going to do the final tightening once we have the windshield installed. Then we'll do those same steps on the other side. This is the folding glass windshield. It comes with the wiper along with the mounts, and you also have the trim that goes on there, the mounting hardware. Now to get it installed, we're going to use a 10 and 17 millimeter combo wrenches, as well as the 4 and 5 millimeter Allens and a 19 millimeter socket. We need to prep a couple pieces for the windshield while we're at the bench. So to do that, we've got our upper filler panel, and we're going to run this foam tape across the outside where that folding windshield is going to come into contact with it. Now the instructions, they show you starting right here and coming straight across right by this bend, all the way down and then straight across. But the problem is, if you go straight across like that, you're going to have to cut out a little notch in this for that hole. So we're just going to start right there and then cut a separate piece for that section on each side. Now we're going to lay the windshield on the blanket, and we've got this bulb seal that we need to put on. We have 2 pieces that are a little bit longer. Those are going to go on each side, and then the shorter one in the middle. And just so you guys know, if you find any spots where this bulb seal doesn't fit on there very tight, you can always squeeze this and press it on to tighten it up. Now with this bulb seal, it'll start on there and it'll look like it's on, but you want to make sure it's pressed all the way down. and you'll know if it's all the way down if you have a straight, consistent line all the way across. Now we're ready to assemble the vent bracket. So we've got 3 brackets. We've got A, B, C, and then these are the M6x16 bolts. In other words, these are the 5 shorter bolts that come in your kit. You've got your nylocks, and you also need a friction washer. So first thing I'm going to do is for bracket A, going to insert 2 of these button head bolts into the windshield. We'll mount the bracket. This tab's going to be facing up. So then we'll take bracket C, mount that to the windshield. And then bracket B, the button head bolt's going to go through this way. We've got the nylock nut on the back, and then this M6 knob goes through bracket B, and then we have the friction washer on the other side in between B and A. So I've got that tight, and then I'm going to back it off just a little bit, and then I'm going to adjust these up, tighten them down. So the first one we're going to tighten down is this bolt. So I'm going to go to right where it gets tight, and then I'm going to back it off about 1/8 of a turn, just enough to where this thing still pivots easily. So that's looking pretty good. And we'll tighten down the bolts. So I left those a little loose. I just want to square everything up, make sure it's all good, and we'll do the final tighten. Once you have those tight, loosen this up, make sure the vent works. Ours is looking good, so we can move on to the next step. Next, we're going to install the filler panel, and it's just going to mount to these holes in the gussets on the top of the A pillar. We're just going to use the M6x20 bolt. We've got a washer and a lock nut on the back side. And again, we're just going to leave this hardware loose. Next, you want to have a friend help you lift the windshield into place. So we're going to set that about where it goes, and just to help hold this in place, I'm going to install the knobs in the top. And just like everything else so far, these knobs are loose. So what we need to do now, we've got 2 holes in the frame of the windshield. Those are going to line up with the bracket. So we've got the M8x20 button head bolts. We're going to stick those through. Then we've got the M8 nuts that go on the back. Then from here, we can find the optimal fitment on the windshield, and once you have it in the position you want it, you can go ahead and start tightening down the hardware. Then starting with the mirror mounts, I'm going to adjust this right to the middle position. We'll tighten down the A-pillar bolts. And once those are tightened, you can tighten down your mirror. And we can tighten those lower mounts for the windshield. So at this point, I'm going to remove these knobs. So what we're going to do is take the standoff bracket, and then what we're going to do is move the windshield away just a little bit. We're going to come in from the side hole with the knob and screw it into that standoff bracket. We're going to leave it just loose enough that we have some adjustment right there. Now keep in mind with the standoff brackets, the square edge is going to be facing the front of the machine. Next, we're going to line up these standoff brackets with the body lines. So once you have it where you want it, I'm going to mark the corners. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Remove those standoff brackets, and we'll mark the holes for drilling. Now we're going to use our 1/4-inch drill bit to drill these out. After that, we're going to wipe off the Sharpie lines and then mount these standoff brackets. We'll put both bolts through. Then we'll install a washer and a nut on the back side. The next thing we need to do is make sure that the knobs fit into the filler panel. If they do, we can go ahead and tighten down the mounting hardware for that. Now to get the windshield wiper installed, we've laid the folding glass windshield down, and what we're gonna do is remove this nut on the end, and we'll remove that bigger nut along with the washer and the rubber grommet. So we'll go ahead and install those on the other side, and then we're going to use two 17mm wrenches to tighten that down. Next, we're going to assemble the wiper assembly. So to install this, what we're going to do is press on the two sides of our wiper. This plastic piece is going to pop up. We'll take the arm, we're going to hook this on right around that plastic tab, pull it all the way down, and then we can press the top all the way down. And to help get the wiper installed, I've gone ahead and bent it at the 90-degree angle. And then once you have the wiper where you want it, we'll install that nut on the top and tighten it down with a 10mm socket or a wrench. Once you have the nut tightened down, we'll push down the plastic cover and make sure we've got the full range of motion on it. Right here we have the rear window, all of the P-clamps, the mounting hardware, and the window trim. To install the rear window, we'll be using a 4mm Allen and 10mm socket. We also recommend using either one of these Tusk plastic rivet removal tools, but if you don't have these, you can use a flat blade screwdriver, but if you use the screwdriver, just be really careful that you don't damage anything when you're using it. For the roof, we've laid out all the hardware that came in our kit. We've got these foam strips. For tools, you're going to need a 10mm socket. We also have a 4mm Allen T-handle and an X-Acto knife. Now to get the roof installed, what we're going to do is clean the top of the roll cage and then install the foam strips. So to do that, we're using a little bit of soapy water on a rag. Now for the foam tape, we've got the 37-incher for the front. This stuff's just going to help with vibration. We've got the 44-incher for the back. And then we have the two 32-inchers for the sides. Moving on to the rear window. We've set it on our workbench. We've got a blanket underneath so we don't scratch it. And we've got 4 different bulb seals, or 4 different lengths. So this one that's right in the middle, this one is going to be going across the bottom, and the bulb seal is actually going to face in towards the cab as we put all this stuff on. Then these 2 shorter pieces, they're going to go right across the bottom. Now with this longer piece of bulb seal, we're going to start right above where that mounting bolt is going to go. And that transfer right there, that can be kind of tricky, but make sure you have that pressed all the way on. To get the rear window installed, we're going to remove the center cover and the 2 intake boxes on the side. After that, we'll loosen up the hose clamps and remove the 6 push pins from the bottoms of each side. Next, we're going to have 5 smaller clamps and 4 bigger ones. So we're going to start with these bigger ones. Then we're going to move just above the seat belt. We'll clamp that one together. We're going to take one of these smaller ones and we're going to flip the orientation. So instead of having this face in, the bolt side is going to be facing out. And we're going to go around this support tube, close to the bottom. Then we'll do the same steps on the other side and across the top. We're gonna set the rear window in place. Might be helpful to have a friend help you do that. And when you set the windshield in place, you'll notice there's a gusset in the corners. Make sure you're on the back side of that. And this lower one you're gonna install so this flat side is facing in and pointing towards the back. After that, we can install the pre-filters and the cover. Now we can put our hardware through the clamps. So we have a washer on the bolt. We'll go through the back of the windshield. And then on the other side, all of these except for the lower two mounts are gonna have a spacer in between the clamp and the windshield. We're just gonna leave those loose until they're all installed. And this is the one right next to that B pillar that doesn't take the spacer on the inside. Now we'll go back through and make any final adjustments to the positioning of the windshield and tighten down all of the clamps. A good place to start is those bottom two clamps on the support pillars. Next thing we need to do is install the spacers, and to keep these in place, I'm going to apply just a little bit of grease underneath them. So the front one is going to go on that slot. Then we'll do one in the back corner, and then we'll put them in the same spots on the other side. Now we're going to line the slots in the roof up with our spacers. We're going to put a washer on first, put the bolt through, and then install one of these nylock nuts on the bottom side. Now there is a difference from the front to the back. So the back one, you not only have a washer on top, but you're going to have a washer on the bottom as well. Now that we have all the bolts loosely installed, there is some adjustability with the roof. So you want to move it until it's centered and you have the optimal fit. Once you have everything centered up, you can go ahead and tighten down all the bolts. This is the cargo barricade. These are your mounts and your mounting hardware. Now to install this, you're gonna need a 17 and 12 millimeter socket and a 5 millimeter Allen. Moving on to the barricade, what we need to do is we've got these little hooks. We're gonna remove this stock bolt and we won't reuse that bolt. Then we're gonna install one of these spacers. So you'll notice there's a little washer underneath there. Make sure that stays there. We've installed our spacer. So we have a threaded portion that's going to be facing the back of the machine. Reinstall that hook. We're going to loosely install the M8x40 bolt. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to remove all 4 of these bolts in the back of the roll cage. Once you have those bolts out, you have these recessed areas. We're gonna put a washer in each one of those. And then we can set the barricade in place. And when you're installing these bolts, if they're not lining up, you can always use an alignment punch to get them started. Now we'll go back through and tighten down all the hardware. And that's everything you need to know to get the Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit installed on your KRX 1000. If you need this kit, it's available on our website, so be sure to check that out. And if you want to see more helpful content for your KRX 1000, then subscribe to our channel.